we all can sort of sensibly go, well, these guys should not have had guns. Why are we having those kinds of conversations, and how do you see it?
Well, I wish I was on under different circumstances. Horribly tragic. You know, in terms of the offender, I really do agree tonight with Spirit and Rolanda. They're echoing my thoughts almost to the letter. But we also have to look at this in the context of America and the Constitution. We can't penalize the 80 million law-abiding gun owners for the actions of a dozen lunatics. It's simply not what we do as Americans. We don't penalize a massive group for the sins of the few. Now, it is tragic that these people were killed horribly. Was Sandy Hook tragic? Horribly. But again, we're talking about a half dozen incidents. You're going to, and to that end, last point, Baltimore is a slaughterhouse right now, and Maryland has some of the most draconian gun laws in the United States. Criminals do not follow gun laws. And I'll leave with this sentence. I don't carry a gun daily because I was a cop. I carry a gun daily because I saw what happened to the victims who didn't. And so I am very pro-Second Amendment.
Lisa?
We have to get over this cowboy, rootin' and tootin' kind of attitude. We know because every other developed country in the world has solved this problem. They almost never have mass shootings. We have 20 times as many gun deaths in America because we are awash in guns. And you know what? I'm sorry. The 80 million law-abiding Americans who have guns, you should be in favor of at least increased restrictions, background checks, trigger locks, ensuring that mentally ill people don't get guns. Can't we all agree on that?
By the way, not just for us, but for the mentally ill patients. I got patients that have guns that I can't get. I've sent the police in to take the guns, and they won't take them. Suicides, they're not in their. They're not. Listen, our brains aren't always perfect. We don't always think clearly and properly. We can get impulsive in a moment. I do not want my patients with guns. I can't get them away. Spirit.
I agree with you 100%, but Dr. Drew, the real issue here is not more gun legislation, because that's not going to happen. The president has already said it. We know that we can't get that agreement within our government right now, but what we can get is imposition, imposing and enforcing the laws that are already on the books. That's not happening. So until we get real and until we get honest, removing guns from the individuals who have the potential to protect themselves is not the answer here.
That's what John is saying.
There was only one person who held a gun in that church that night. There was only one, and unfortunately, if other people could have protected themselves, that situation could have gone differently.
What would this conversation have been if this was like those 4 little girls who died where someone threw a bomb in? Would we still be having this conversation about gun laws and gun legislation? Because I feel right now, again, I know that what Spirit said about how not to be decisive and how to have this conversation about racism, but right now I feel like we keep on missing and we get away from what it is. And if we're going to talk about bringing people together, we need to figure out what is that way to help. I don't want to. All Americans are not racist. Right. That is true.
Okay, but let's start with that.
Let's start there. You're right. All Americans are not racist, but having a conversation about gun control in this particular moment, if he would have thrown a bomb in there, and if they would have blown up.
Do the thought experiment. It's a bomb. Now what do we do?
What are we talking about now? Now we can't have to say we can't have chemistry experiments? No. We need to start talking about racist individuals.
We're talking about the annihilation and the total disrespect of one of the most sacred places in the world, a church, but in our nation in particular. That is where the hub of the African-American system has been. Absolutely. It is where the power base, the support system has been. It's the no man's land. To have that annihilated, like the 4 little girls.
And a very targeted church. And a very targeted church because of its involved, because of its history. Exactly.
It's been burned to the ground, and that is the scary part. And that is the scary part for this entire Black community, because right now, as we speak, I know my mother is possibly on her way to church for choir rehearsal. But she takes my daughter to church with her. We go to Bible study. And so this is, when we talk about these so many different issues and we don't want to touch on other things, this is scary. This is so real. This is so real.
It's not just the Black community. Look at those photos.
But look at right now. I'm not talking
about people
out there as well.
Spirit, hold
on. Those are white people out there as well.
Hang on, Vanessa.
Exactly. All races go to church. All races go to church. But if we're looking at this issue right now, he went in and said, I want to shoot Black people. And as a Black person, I can have this moment and say that that is scary for the Black community, and that does not make me racist. That's not divisive. So that's me saying that right now in that moment, that's what's very real. And I'm not negating that white people and Indian people and Asian people, everybody goes to church. I'm talking about this moment.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because Dr. King's daughter said today, and I'm here in Atlanta, Dr. King's daughter said that this tragedy reminded her today of the very incident that happened when her grandmother, mind you, was shot in a church here in Atlanta so many years ago, as well as a deacon, by not a white person. So this is what I want us to understand. This is a painful tragedy. But the real issue here is that he could have chosen anywhere. He was a coward. He knew exactly what he was doing. There are a lot of copycat elements here. There are a lot of mental health issues. But this could have happened anywhere. He chose a church because it was an easy target. We have to start talking about how do we protect ourselves as individuals and not wait for someone else to come and save us, because it's not going to happen. It's going to happen after the incident is already.
He didn't just choose any church. He chose that church because it was a symbol of black liberation.
Hang on, John, how do we address what Spirits threw down a gauntlet there, and how do we protect ourselves? Do you have a suggestion?
Well, I agree with Spirit. You know, if you look at all of these shooters, Sandy Hook, the movie theater, even this one, they chose the quote-unquote gun-free zones, very soft targets. This guy had a racist manifesto, no doubt, but he didn't go to a corner where Bloods and Crips were hanging out and shoot it out with them.
The coward.
He went to a soft, he was a coward. He was certainly a terrorist, but he went, like other terrorists, to the softest target in a church, sat there for an hour, put them off guard in a place that's typically gun-free, quote-unquote, and they couldn't shoot back. I am a firm believer in armed Americans protecting. Look, when you call 911, you don't hope unarmed cops show up, right? You're calling a good guy with a gun to stop the bad guy with a gun.